Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining us from. Thank you so much for tuning into our channel. We really do appreciate that. On this channel, we talk about manufacturing opportunities in Africa. Why manufacturing opportunities? Because sub-Saharan economies are documented to be under-industrialized. It means that we import a lot of things, even the things that we are able to make ourselves. As a result of importing a lot of things, over-importing, we are missing opportunities in manufacturing, missing opportunities in strengthening our economies, missing opportunities in many people becoming millionaires. Why? Because manufacturing has been found in the past to create many millionaires within the country. Manufacturing strengthens and transforms the economy. It can catapult the economy from a low income into middle and high income. It transforms the economy. It improves productivity. So when we don't produce what we are able to produce, we are basically strengthening somebody else's economy. And while they are strengthening the economy, they are also creating employment for their people while we are not. And we need to create employment in Africa because 50% of the population in Africa lives below the breadline. And poverty is as a result of lack of jobs. So when we take up these opportunities, manufacturing, when we go into manufacturing, we strengthen our economies. Many in the process become millionaires. We create jobs for our people and we lift many out of poverty. For that reason, it becomes very important to take up these opportunities and not give them up to another economy, another country. And what we are talking about here, we're talking about small manufacturing opportunities of between 20 and 50,000, could either be US dollars or euros or pounds or whatever strong currency. It doesn't take a lot, and it's quite possible because nowadays we see that China is producing small manufacturing machinery. So it makes it very affordable to take up these opportunities. And you could start small and then maybe later on grow with time. What we are talking about is not to start as a big company that will supply the entire country. You could start something that would supply your province or even 5-6 districts within your province and grow later on. And even if you don't grow, that can really make you some real good money. And so let's just go straight into talking about these opportunities. We're talking today about opportunities in Malawi because Africa is too big to say there are these opportunities. It's best to go through them country by country. Malawi is a country in southern Africa. It has a population of about 20 million people. Of that 20 million, only about 18.5 people are urbanized. The rest are still living in rural areas. And only less than 20% of the people have access to electricity. And as a result of this, Malawi is experiencing deforestation at a growing rate because people are still dependent on firewood to cook their food. So this presents opportunities in gas. I know we said that we focus on opportunities in manufacturing, but even in other non-manufacturing, if we can identify an important opportunity that solves a problem, we will talk about that. So to curb the growing deforestation, we have identified that there is a need to sell gas in cylinders, so that the people can cook their food in gas and reduce the growing deforestation, because that has serious conservation and ecological consequences in the future. Also, people can there's an opportunity in making briquettes and charcoal, so that people can cook their food with briquettes and charcoal. And also there was always opportunities in agriculture. And in Africa, we know that 60% of farm produce goes to waste as a result of not going into manufacturing. But now we've highlighted that you can buy cheap machinery, not necessarily cheap, but inexpensive machinery from China and start processing. So the starting point is always agro-processing, starting with food. And Malawi imports a lot of their food. And I always personally think that what we consume, the bulk of it, we have to make it locally. We have to produce it locally. So agro-processing, making the food that we eat, like milling flour milling from maize, and also flour milling from wheat, making flour, and fruit and vegetables, drying them, making juices and juice concentrates. Juice concentrates is even better than juice because it has a longer lifespan, but of course it means that you will use preservatives. And also there's a need for egg production and poultry in Malawi. And also there's a need for, I will look at the book because there's quite a few. There's a need for tea, growing tea and coffee in Malawi. We start with agriculture. And there is a need also to improve our agricultural methods so that we can improve productivity, because Malawi is importing a lot of food, which means that their production, farm production, does not meet their demand. And I've seen this also, China is making small tractors, because when you improve and when you mechanize your farming methods, you also improve your productivity. They're making small tractors and farming implements, and there are also people in Malawi who are making farm implements. We need to improve our farming methods so that we can improve productivity. There's also the need for bakery, opportunities in bakery and in jewelry. Jewelry, it will be traditional jewelry that you can make and have a website or sell on Shopify to sell to people abroad. And also the comparative advantage that Malawi has is that in all of Africa, the rest of Africa, they are the only people who have rubies. They are the only suppliers of rubies. That is the natural comparative advantage, and really being the only producer, the only source they need to get, they ought to get better prices from that. But also people, the local people, should benefit from that, make jewelry from that and export it outside Malawi at a higher price, because they are the only ones in the rest of Africa who have rubies. Jewelry making, you can do that both for the international market and traditional. Also cement making, and obviously cement goes with brick making, making bricks, making cement. And what do you do with bricks and cement? You build buildings, and so that would also go with everything that goes with buildings, the rafters, the roofing material, the doors and door frames, the gates, window frames, and glasses, making glass, and also glassware. There's a need for that. It has been identified. We do desktop research, and from the desktop research, this is what we could find, that there is also a need for glassware in Malawi. But some of it also, it is looking at the dynamics within the country. Like for instance, Malawi is blessed with lakes, and the largest I think is Lake Malawi. Having a lot of lakes, Malawi can attract a lot of tourists, and therefore that gives rise to camping sites along the lake, so that people can come and relax in Malawi. It can become, tourism is one of the areas that can be strengthened, having camping sites and all that. But also when people come to rest. They don't just sleep the whole day. There's lakes. They want to go to the beach. They want to play in the water. That gives rise to all sorts of water sports. There is a young chap in Ghana who has made a floating or a water bicycle that can be made also in Malawi for people to play in the water with these water bicycles. But obviously you will always take precautions. You don't just, though they are floating, it's always best to take further precautions that when people go onto the water on these bicycles, they also wear vests to prevent them from sinking should something happen and they are not able to swim or to swim for a long time. So making these floating safety vests is another opportunity. In addition to that, also making small speedboats so that people can play anything to do with water sports and water recreation. It becomes an opportunity, and it is one of the comparative advantages of Malawi. And also people can make soap and detergent for washing our clothes, laundry detergent for washing our clothes. And candle making would also go with 80% of the population not having access to electricity, which would also go with making small, not very large ones, but small solar panels, so that at least people can light their homes in the evenings. That is another opportunity that exists in Malawi. Charcoal, we talked about it. Also tomatoes, tomato processing. You know, sometimes we need to add value to what we make. Instead of 60% of the farm produce going to waste. So with tomatoes, they can process, make tomato sauce, tomato paste, and even export it. Tomato juices are mainly used, they can export them, mainly used at cocktail parties. Make tomato juice and export them to other countries. And sun-dried tomatoes are very, very tasty, very nice. They are a high premium product that they can make, that can be made in Malawi and exported to other countries. I always remember one, it was like, it's a condiment, you could put it on bread. I ate it in one state in America. It was just sun-dried tomatoes chopped up roughly, mixed with olive oil, and then they added spice and could just put it on your bread. It was so tasty. That is another opportunity, and then they can be exported to other countries and get a lot of money from that. They are a premium quality. And then another opportunity is that 50% of Malawi, it's young people. They are 18 years and younger. And where are they? They are in school. What do they need in school? They need exercise books. Instead of importing them, if they're imported, they can be made locally in Malawi. And making an exercise book is very, very simple. You just take a A4 paper, you draw lines on both sides and you stack them up maybe 20, 30 and put a hard paper beneath, staple them in the middle and fold them over. Very, very simple. Imagine if 50% of the population is in school, is below the age of 18. That means that about 10 million people are in school. That's a big market to make exercise and hardcovers for. And even if you don't start with sales, even if you don't have enough money to start big, but you start small, imagine if you supply your whole province or 5-6 districts within your province, the amount of money that you will make from that. And because presently Malawi, it is recorded that they only have 100 manufacturers. 100 manufacturers out of a population of 20 million. So that spells that there are many opportunities. There is room for new entrants, room for new people to come in and also make money and profit from that. Now we said 50% of the population is 18 years and below, and they are in school. In addition to that, they need school bags. Imagine if you make school bags and supply your district or 4 districts, you will make a lot of money from that. They need shoes, school uniform. Even if you just even if you buy a machine and you make socks, because socks will go with the school shoes, and you supply your province or 2 provinces, you can still make very good, decent money from that. That will make you quite rich within a short space of time. By short, of course, I don't mean a year or 2, maybe 5, 6 or so. But imagine if you do that. If you did not do that, where would you be in 6 years? But if you do that, even if you don't get rich in a year, imagine doing that and how much it will benefit you. So these are the opportunities that we highlight, that they are existing in our African countries. And apparently Malawians, they love pasta and spaghetti. That's another area of manufacturing that you can go into, because I firmly believe that what we are eating, we cannot and we should not import. And the process of making spaghetti is very cheap. Even the machinery to flatten it and cut it into shape is very, very, very not complicated. You just take flour, mix it with eggs and meat, flatten it, cut it into shape, dry it out, and then pack it. It's very simple. It's something that can be done, and especially if there's a high demand for it. We cannot have a high demand, high consumption for something and then we import it. So making spaghetti and pasta, it is another opportunity. And also making snacks, snacks of all sizes. Snacks, they are as many as our ability to think creatively. That thought that you have, just experiment with it in the kitchen, then give it to friends and family to taste and give you honest feedback, and then from there you can commercialize it. Or that nice sauce, that nice recipe that you have, you can make sauces of all kinds. Whatever is to your advantage, commercialize it and make money out of it. And as more people go into manufacturing, then that gives rise to packaging material, because if you make sauces and pasta and all that, you need to package them in something. So that gives rise to people who make containers, and then on that container you need to put labels. Gives rise to people who can make labels for manufacturers. You can make money from just making labels, and then we need to package, to transport it, and then to package it in boxes. You can make a big business from just making those packaging, moving boxes. And that can be another area of manufacturing, but then it is dependent on the basic, the primary one first, people going into manufacturing sauces and whatever that we've already talked about, tea and coffee, and then that gives rise to the need for containers. And then there's an opportunity also in footwear and in furniture. And Malawi, we've already said that they import a lot of foodstuffs. We need to make that. They also import a lot of textile and clothing, food and clothing, because they are the ones that we need every day. We use a lot. I always believe that we really have to make them locally. If there's no textile manufacturer locally, we can import the textile, but let's make the clothes locally, uniform and other clothes that we wear on a daily basis. Jewelry, we talked about that. Also the lakes. Malawi has got a lot of water. It's got lakes, so that gives rise to opportunities in fishing. I believe there's fishing already, but also you can fish and you can can the fish, and you can dry it and export it. But let us always be mindful not to over harvest and deplete the stocks and resources that we have in the water. Tourism, we talked about it, that it has a great potential for tourism, although the only setback with tourism is the lockdowns. We saw during the lockdowns that tourists were not coming in, and they tell us that a second lockdown is coming 2025 or so, whatever. But in the meantime, because even tourism is not just for people who come from abroad, it can also be local people who want to go and rest. But there's a great potential for tourism in Malawi. And then you can also make cosmetics and fragrances and lipstick and everything that beautifies a woman is known or recorded to be recession proof. Even if times are tough, a woman would always want to look beautiful. And also Wi-Fi installation company. We live in an age where we're using data, we're using Wi-Fi, we're using cell phones, we are connected with the whole world. I know that Wi-Fi is not manufacturing, but there is a growing need in that. And also talking about connectivity, we can make some things locally. Everybody these days has got a cell phone. Are we going to wait for a company to come and put their factory in our country? I'm not saying that it is wrong, but let us also partake in that, because everybody has got a phone. Let us partake in that opportunity. Even if we don't make the parts, but let us import the parts and put them together, assemble them together, and make a local phone, make a local laptop, make a local tablet. I'm saying this because my 15-year-old nephew, he taught himself, it's not something they taught him at school, he taught himself how to put together a PC. And he's using his own PC that he put together. He just went on Google, went online, he Googled how it is done, watched the videos, how they do it, bought the parts, he did it himself. If a 15-year-old high school going teenager can do it, how much more about you and I? We'd rather import the parts, buy the parts, but let's make them locally. Some of this is, and in the process, you are making money, you are becoming rich. You are creating employment for somebody else. Those 5 people that you employ, it makes a difference in their lives that you are employing them. And imagine if just 10% of us in any country, 10% of the population, they take up entrepreneurship, 20% perhaps being 20% being in manufacturing, and then other forms of businesses, and then you'd employ 5 people or so. Imagine the number of people that will be employed, the number of employment that will be created, transforming the economy, helping many, giving them and their dependents a livelihood, transforming our economies instead of being looked down at some of the poorest continent. We can transform our continent, we can transform our countries when enough people within each and every African country, they take up manufacturing and other forms of entrepreneurship, create employment. We can make our economies grow, make them great, and we can eradicate poverty to a very, very large extent. There's also a need for poultry. I think we mentioned that. And legumes would be beans, soya beans, and apparently there's a growing demand and it is growing farming with soya beans. And from soya beans you can make soya sauce and export it. You can make meat from soya beans, and legumes would also be chickpeas and stuff like that. And it's also recorded that there's a need and opportunity to farm in snails and mushrooms are very profitable, are known to be profitable. Also potatoes, sunflower, and macadamia nuts. Macadamia nuts are also a premium product that can be exported. Can farm with that, and then somebody else can buy them, roast, whatever, add different flavors and export them. And then there's also a need for hardware stores. If we talk about bricks and cement and everything that goes with them, then there's also hardware store, because it's best to have all the building material in one place. And so far, those are the opportunities that we could identify, that we could come up with, that do exist within Malawi. And we have also said that there are only 100 manufacturers in Malawi, in a country of 20 million people. So you can see the vastness of the opportunities that still exist in manufacturing. And of course, not only manufacturing, because whatever we manufacture, we also need to sell. So it also gives rise to retail. But let us sell and make things locally. Let us sell and what we are making locally. Let us support our local manufacturing and sell more of their stuff. And with that said, you can see that we can create, there are opportunities, we can take up these opportunities. There is no need for us to run away from Africa, to try and escape poverty from Africa, while there are opportunities. These are untapped and unexplored opportunities, but as we explore them, we create jobs. There's no need for us to run away from Africa. Let us stay and let us explore these opportunities, make money in the process, create employment, grow our economies, make our countries and our continent great. With that said, we have an ebook in the pinned comment below. Please do click on the Smashwords link and download a copy of your book, where we talk about us, the general public, being able to make Africa great, being able to grow our economies. I know that somebody will say that, but there's no infrastructure. We cannot wait for infrastructure before we do something. We cannot wait for electricity, for roads and all that. There are alternatives to electricity. The solar panels, there's generators. It might be a little more expensive, yes, I understand, but let us do something. There are opportunities that are facing us, that are in front of us. Let's not throw away our opportunities to other people to come and do and take up our opportunities that we do not take up ourselves. And with that said, I'm very thankful that you stayed with me until thus far. And please do think about these opportunities. Whatever makes sense to you or whatever resonates with your passion, then go and do it. Make money and let's make our countries great. And thank you so much. Bye-bye.